What's going on, Legacy? It's your boy Fleazy here, just making you a quick guide to show you some tactics and strategies you can work on to really improve a little bit in these wars and help out the clan overall. So first and foremost, let's get our private chats off and our clan chat off. If you're in a clan that's like other than the CC, make sure you leave that before we actually go out and do any sort of event, right? Okay. Now the way I'm going to do this video, I'm going to break it down into kind of two sections here. The first part is going to be dedicated completely to spacing and positioning and understanding kind of where to stand and how to engage on the battlefield really. And then the second part is all going to be dedicated to tanking. That's going to be combo beats, pair switches, dragging, all that good stuff. Okay, so the barrage hits in a 3x3 square. Oh, not like that. Goodness gracious. Okay, so this is how barrage hits, right? If you're standing in the center and you're getting barrage, this is everywhere the barrage is going to hit. Now, it's very important. These battles, these wars, these PKRIs, they are won and lost by the clumps, right? The clan that clumps less and catches the other clan and more clumps is going to win 10 times out of 10, okay? When you catch multiple people in a clump like this, and you have people barraging it, your damage multiplies exponentially, okay? Because you got multiple people barraging and getting multiple damages off all at once, and it just multiplies so fast. There's no way we can compete with that if we're just focusing a single target while they're getting 3 to 4 of us at one time, okay? There's just no way to compete with the DPS, all right? So it's very important at all times when you're out here in these wars and these battles with us. Do not let any allies within this 3x3 box of you. Do not let any allies get within a single tile space of you, right? So when we're getting a spread, you're going to want to do kind of something like this. Leave at least one tile space between you and the next man. And it's really not a big deal if there's 2, right? I mean, it kind of helps at some point to make little holes for the backline, right? And you'll kind of see here, we start to run out of space a little bit. And if we have much more over like 8 or 10 guys, we're gonna have to get a second line here. Even if we only have 10 guys, you know, I feel like most times it's better to be kind of thick than have just like a straight single file line, right? And if we have a lot of guys, you'll kind of fill in back here too, like so. I mean, hopefully you've seen a spread by now and you have a good understanding how one should look. But it's so important because, well, honestly, this guy right here, and honestly, we'd want to move you out, kind of fixing the spread a little bit here because we want to avoid these clumps. But you know, so something like this, right? Get nice and spread out, at least one tile between you and anybody else. Now, so this way, the way this usually works is we will get our good spread, right? We'll call pot up, praise up, and then we will charge towards where the enemy clan is going to be at. And it's very important when we do this charge, maintain the spread, okay? If you're in this tile right here, I know this is a bad spot because there's some trees in front of us, but don't just click way out here like a moron, right? And just expect your guy, because when he runs down like this and your guy's running up right here, it's potential for clumps, right? So be careful with your pathing. Make sure to maintain the spread, okay? We're gonna want to start, we'll probably run kind of through these trees right here, come around to the bottom side of this tree, and maybe at this time we'll kind of wait and see, you know, because the enemy's gonna be spread somewhere kind of in this vicinity up against this lava, right? And as our team charges, someone's going to catch the first freeze, say like right out here, and call that as our pile number 1. So you kind of want to dictate from here what's our best path to kind of get here and get some DPS off without clumping, right? And you want to watch your 3x3 space, right? Make sure you're not clumping with any teammates. Now it's very important because you see as we tend to be kind of bunched up with these ranks in the back. So if you're charging from this front line, what you're going to want to try to do is don't just stand all the way back where you can just barely cast or bolt on them. Get to that spot and then try to inch just a couple steps closer, right? Give your back line some room to come in here and fill in so they can get DPS off too without creating clumps up against you. Hugely important, right? Rushing this enemy team, when we're out here, you're bolting, you're barraging, whatever. Now in singles PKing, you really get in this tendency to get real erratic, right? Like you either freeze someone and you use the tree to not take damage, or you DD under them so as to not take damage, which can still be a useful tactic. But for the sake of this conversation, when we're just out here in our spread and you're DPSing this pile from a distance, break away from the habit of bolting this guy and then just running over here and then bolting him again and then running over here, because what you're doing is you're breaking our spread, right? And if you look at our spread here, if everyone is inadvertently doing that, it's really only a matter of time before we accidentally do this in the same direction and then get caught in a careless two-man here, and then all of a sudden we're taking damage and doing things we don't need to be doing, right? So try to get real comfortable with just get a comfortable spot fixed away from your spread where you're not causing clumps, and just get comfortable. Chill out here, don't move around, just DPS, and try to think about when is this guy going to drag, and be ready to either get one last bolt on him, catch a freeze, or transition to the next pile. A lot of times what I like to do is, when this guy's about to drag and we're not begging him out, go ahead and catch a freeze on this guy right here. So when he drags, we don't even have to move. We can just transition to this pile right here and just keep our DPS constant. Something like this. I'm going to get into the wrap here in a second. But so our spread's like this. This is our pile right here. So maybe like these two guys, right? What you're going to want to do is, I don't have a skim with me because I'm a freaking Chad and I bring my GS all the time. So what you're gonna want to do is when you're ready to go in for melee, say you get your last bolt and it's a big bolt or something or whatever, don't just pull out your weapon and click right here on the pile and go in for a melee. It's extremely careless, right? What you're gonna want to do is evaluate. If there's nobody getting the melee on the pile, then you're free to pretty much pick a side, whether you want to do right here or right here, which is what I think would be ideal. But you're free to pick either one. So what you're going to do is get your last bolt off, your last barrage, whatever. Click this spot right here, and as your guy's running, go ahead and do your prayer switch, pot up, get out your melee, and make sure you run to this spot right here first, and then get your melee on him, right? Very important. And then so if you're running back to this spot right here, kind of backtracking a little bit, if there's already a melee on the pile, be very mindful of where that melee is coming from, right? If it's coming from right here, then we have to run right here. See, this way we're on opposite ends in our 3x3 box. See, my 3x3 box is this right here, and his is going to be this right here, right? It looks a little confusing like this, but you get the idea. If anyone on the enemy team were to barrage either one of us, we're not creating a clump. They're just barraging the one and their own guy at the same time, so it's really not going to be worth it for them, right? And they're trading even damage on us on their own same guy, and they'll either single spell or bolt you, right? But if your guy's getting melee from this tile right here, and you're not paying attention to what you're doing, and you just click your GS, and you just click to go in and attack, then what if your guy, when his pathing, what he does, if he goes and stands right here, look, you just created a two-man, right? Careless, you created a clump, now they have an advantage on us, and they'll sit here and barrage the crap out of their own guy to hit this two-man right here, because it's worth it for him, right? And then the last thing I'd like to mention is 2 on the pile max. If we've already got a guy right here and right here, right? If you try to run in and get a melee, if you go and stand on top of either guy, you're just obviously creating a two-man as it is, right? And if you try to go in and get a melee from right here, look, you've just created a 3-an. What are you doing? What are you thinking? That's 0 IQ. That's not what we do. Do not, for the love of God, do not. And I don't care, even if you think you're going to go in for a skim or something, if there's already 2 meleeers on the pile, it's one of their responsibility. Hopefully one of them's going to have a skim and to get the skim on the pile. If not, shame on those guys, right? Don't worry about it. It's not worth potentially causing a 3-man to get that one skim. If we've got 2 melees on the pile, odds are that guy's going to be taking massive amounts of damage anyway. Okay. So I think that really pretty much covers it. The last thing I want to say on that end, guys, get 75 attack, at least 60 so you can skim. If you don't like rocking the skim, and get 75, rock you a, ZGS is cheap. This is what I've been rocking lately. What is it, 7.2 mil? AGS is really good, Eldamar is really good. You can get away from the whole skim side of things if that's not your cup of tea. It just makes your balls a little bit bigger. You kind of feel like a Chad out here taking one of these in the battle. So get 75 attack, do it for the clan. DPS is huge, and if the other clan's not bringing +1s and everyone's just rocking a DDS, it's really fine. But when we're fighting some of these better clans and all of their guys have either a toxic staff or AGS, we have to bring some of our own to keep up, or else we're just going to lose out too much on DPS, and we're not going to be able to win those fights. So it is important, you know, if you're new and it's your first couple trips, really don't worry about it. Get comfortable with surviving and tanking out here and not getting smited before you worry about it. But if you're one of our seasoned guys, man, it's time to step up, get 75 attack, start bringing your +1, okay? So say I've already got kind of our spread as we rush here, and say they're just kind of spread pretty much same in a straight line, right? And I think what I'll do is try to edit some clips into here to show these strategies real time from some of my POVs to kind of show you. But so what we're going to want to do is say you're coming in from the south side right here, and the pile is up here, we really can't hit it, right? So what we're going to want to do is try to break through their south side here, and especially at a spot like this where the return telly spot is right here, right? And everyone's going to be kind of flowing up this way. What we're going to want to do is while our front line is holding this west side, we're going to want to push through on the south side and try to put them in a box, right? So instead of just being like a straight line down the middle and us just casting forth this way, we want to try to take over the south side too, right? And this way we get a lot more, look, we can focus piles a lot better. We're forcing them in a smaller area and increasing our likelihood to catch clumps on them, whilst reducing the likelihood that we clump ourselves because we've got more area to spread in, right? And then, I mean, you should kind of get how it works. I mean, we kind of press them up against the lava and apply pressure, squeeze them in a smaller space. It makes it easier for us to focus our piles and get our damage off and stay safe in the process, right? So another subject that's really important that I'd like to get to here and cover in this video is tanking, right? And being able to soak up damage and stay in the fight and not have to teleport out or anything like that. And the most important aspect of tanking, really it's going to be two things. First, your overheads, your prayers are critically important for obvious reasons. And then second, your P-necks, baby. Gotta have your P-necks, okay? And so what you should really do is you should embrace being the pile. You should look forward to being pile. That's kind of your chance to be the man. That's your chance to be a Chad and prove yourself, right? I mean, when that bitch ass team thinks they're just gonna get on you and bang you out, that's your chance to stand the fuck up and say, hell nah, bro, fucking get your P-neck on, take the shit out of that pile. The absolute most important thing you can do out here when tanking is pay attention to your overheads. Overheads first, always, always, always. Now, 90% of the time out here, you're going to be camping, protect from range, right? The bolts can be massive themselves, they hit harder than the barrages, and if someone has a ballista, it just hits even harder, right? So you want to camp your protect from range most of the time. If we're doing a charge or something, you don't want to froze and be first pile. You can turn on protect from mage. If you ever get caught in a barrage clump like this, of course you want to turn your protect from magic on, right? Because if you're in a clump, their whole team's going to be barraging the shit out of this. Get your protect from magic on, reduce that damage, right? So overheads are critically important. Pay attention to those at all times, especially if you get skimmed. You know, these overheads reduce 50% of damage outright. Should you get skimmed, you stand to take massive amounts of damage, and that's not good for any of us. So get those overheads back up as quickly as possible. Also, guys, get 52 prayer smite. There's situations where we need to smite, like say we get someone caught in a bad spot, or a clan begins to retreat, or we're starting to get the best of someone and we can start smiting some +1s to make some loot. And you need to get 52 and you need to get your smites. I mean, if you don't have at least 43 prayers, like there's no way. I'm sure you can do singles PKing, and I'm sure you can manage to do PVMs, and I'm sure it's great, but for out here in this clan versus clan setting, there's no way you're going to take 5, 6, 7 man piles without your 3 overhead pairs. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. Okay, I mean, it's pretty difficult to do with these overheads. That is, I couldn't imagine flying without them, right? If you are not aware, the P-neck is ridiculously OP, and I'm sorry, but you are not going to tank a single thing out here if you're not rocking some P-necks, okay? They heal like 20 some odd HP, which is on par with the top tier foods like tuna potatoes, anglers, etc. But what they do that's really important is they proc and they break and activate when you take damage below a certain threshold of your HP. So when you take essentially what's a lethal blow, instead of dying, it heals you back up for a really good food eat, right? What it does that's really important is it negates out all the damage stack that's coming for you. So that big bolt that they just hit on you, and you'll probably realize this happens to you a lot when we've got someone froze and we're piling them, and this guy has like low HP and your bolt's like massive, like you get a 120 XP drop, and all of a sudden this guy just like doesn't take any damage, and the next tick when he does take damage, he's back at full HP again. Well, that's because his P-neck procced, and when it does proc, it negates that entire all the damage for the rest of that tick that's coming at you. When it heals you, it just takes all that damage and throws it in the garbage. It's no longer existent. And meanwhile, it doesn't interrupt any of your actions, right? So when your P-neck procs, you can get a full Angler Brew Karam off, right? And get a full 3-way combo eat plus the P-neck, so it puts you at full HP, negates damage. That's how you go from oh shit to right back to good, all at the same time, right? So if you even think you're about to be the pile, very important to get your P-neck on. You should have at least 2 or 3 of these with you at all times. When we're doing CWA events, I like to bring 4. They really are just that important, right? And then so there's a plugin, it's called P-neck Jingle. Let me go ahead and, I'm looking at my thing right now, it's not recording when I pop up in that menu. So never mind, I'll just close that up. But it's called Phoenix Necklace Jingle, and it makes the same sound as it's like the Grand Exchange coins when your item buys or whatever, and it makes a little coin jingle. It makes one of those really loud when your P-neck pops, so you get an audible notification to put another one on. Extremely helpful. It's a game changer. Like, no kidding. It's such a valuable plugin. I'd strongly recommend it. And so what you want to do, hopefully by now you know what the combo is, right? The combo eat, you can do something like that and put a P-neck on after it, or you can even do these 3 in a sequence, or you can do the same thing with your restore, right? So what I like to do is I like to get in the habit of every one of those, go bam, 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 and then switch your overhead. Because when you're doing your combo eats like that, it means you're the pile, right? And the enemy team's all around you. You'll have maybe 1, hopefully not, but maybe 2 meleeers on you, probably 2 or 3 people bolting you, and then like 1 or 2 people maging you, barraging you, right? So the barrage is really going to be the least amount of flat out damage outright, and it's once you're already frozen, people are going to switch to bolt. They're not going to sit there and spam barrage on you typically. So keep your bolt on, and then hit your combo eat, and then switch to melee, and then hit your next combo eat, and then switch right back to bolt. So just get in the habit of every combo eat, switch to one, do another combo eat, switch to the other, just like so, right? So it's always mixing. It's unpredictable. They can't read what you're doing, and then camp another style and just inflict massive amounts of damage, right? You're always switching it and kind of, staying adaptive to the situation. Now, while you're doing this, kind of in between each combo eat, another thing I like to do is hit your combo eat, flip your prayer, and then you'll have a freeze timer on you, right? And just get in the habit of every combo eat, prayer switch, go ahead and click to drag, and then get ready to combo eat again, right? Now, dragging is something I haven't discussed yet, but it is extremely, extremely important, just like all the other things I'm talking about here. So when there's a pile and the freeze timer ends, that person is going to just run the hell away, right? By instinct. They don't like being frozen there, they don't like taking damage, they're trying to get the hell out. Well, in the process of doing so, everyone that's aggroing this pile is going to follow him, right? So you'll notice, like, this is a situation where when you're bolting this guy and he runs off, your guy shoots the really long range bolt, and then involuntary takes like 4 steps out this way where you can't control it and you can't change direction just yet, right? That's because he's dragging you. That's also why we discourage auto casting. Never set up your auto cast. You should always be manually barraging out here, because if you're auto casting, you're going to get dragged, and when that happens, kind of as I just stated, when you get dragged 4 or so steps where you can't control what's going on, you're going to get drugged into your teammates, you're going to get drugged into clumps, and the enemy team, if they're good, they're going to be communicating. They're going to be saying, hey, I'm about to drag, and then their team is going to be ready for our back line to drag into the front line and to catch freezes and to catch clumps, and they're going to try to change the tide of battle on us, right? Which we definitely don't want to happen. So be mindful of that when you're attacking, and at the same time when you're tanking, be mindful of your freeze timer. I like to be in the habit. Ooh, looky there. Some free rune crafting XP. I like to be in the habit of, in between each tank and prayer flick, I go ahead and click to drag, because it can be chaotic when you're tanking a massive pile, to pay attention to your freeze timer and your HP and your prayer, and another thing, you have to pay attention to the damage styles you're taking, because obviously if you're just getting piled by bolts and no one's even got melee on you, it makes absolutely no sense to switch to protect from melee, right? So there's just a couple things you have to be aware of when you're tanking the pile, and the freeze timer just adds to it. So it's really easy to just kind of get in the habit of running away in between each combo eat and prayer switch, just so when it happens you don't even have to think about it, you're going to drag naturally, and then hopefully cause some chaos for the enemy team.